Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. CES 2025 just wrapped up. And wow, what a show. Over 141,000 people from 150 countries, 4,500 exhibitors. It's a lot to process.
It is.
So, we did the digging for you. We dove into articles, press releases, and expert analyses to bring you the most interesting takeaways from this year's CES.
It's true. There were a ton of shiny new gadgets. But what really stood out were the underlying trends. And one of the biggest was the sheer pervasiveness of AI. This wasn't just about adding voice assistants to more devices. AI was baked into almost everything at CES, often in ways that felt fundamentally different.
Right. I kept seeing this term agentic AI popping up everywhere. It sounds like a superhero name. But what does it actually mean?
Well, think of it like this. Your typical voice assistant can set reminders, play music, answer questions, but it's still following your instructions. Agentic AI is about AI systems that can act more autonomously. They can set their own goals, make their own decisions, and take actions to achieve those goals without human intervention.
So it's not just about AI doing what we tell it to do. It's about AI figuring things out on its own. Can you give us a concrete example of what that actually looks like?
Absolutely. Take Google's Project Mariner, for instance. It's an AI system designed to navigate the web on its own. It can interact with websites, understand content, and even complete tasks, all without human guidance.
That's both fascinating and a little unnerving. Imagine an AI that can browse the internet, book flights, pay bills, all while you're doing something else. Is this something we should be worried about?
It's definitely a big leap forward in AI capabilities. Gartner, a research and consulting company, predicts that by 2028. Agentic AI could be handling 15% of our work decisions. And during his keynote at CES, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang called agentic AI the next frontier of AI.
Wow. 15% of our work decisions made by AI in just a few years. That's huge. But what about the hardware? Can our devices even handle this kind of advanced AI?
That's another area where things are getting interesting. NVIDIA, for example, just announced their new GeForce RTX 50 series GPUs, which are specifically designed for AI processing. They're claiming a massive boost in performance, which means we'll be able to run even more complex AI algorithms on our devices.
Okay. So we've got increasingly sophisticated AI software and powerful new hardware to run it on. It sounds like a recipe for some major changes in how we work and live. But let's move on from the world of AI for a moment and talk about something a little more tangible: screens. It feels like every year at CES, screens get bigger, brighter, and more. Well, weird.
You're not wrong. This year, we saw some pretty mind-blowing advancements in display technology. LG, for instance, debuted their new G5 OLED TV, and it's a stunner. They've managed to increase brightness by 40% compared to previous models.
That's a big deal, right?
OLED has always been known for its incredible black levels and color accuracy. But brightness has been a bit of an Achilles heel. Exactly. This new 4-stack OLED panel design from LG could finally address that issue, making OLED a more viable option for people who watch TV in bright rooms. But brighter wasn't the only trend in screens this year. We also saw some interesting developments in flexibility and form factor.
Oh, tell me about it. I saw this crazy concept from Lenovo, the ThinkBook Plus Gen 6. Which features a rollable screen that can expand vertically from 14 inches to 16.7 inches.
Isn't that wild? Imagine being able to switch between a compact laptop for portability and a larger display for presentations or creative work, all with a single device. It's a pretty compelling idea.
Definitely. And then there's Hiskians, who unveiled a massive 163-inch TV. I mean, that's bigger than some apartments.
It is, and it highlights another trend we're seeing, Sikia, the desire for truly immersive viewing experiences.
But it wasn't all about giant TVs and futuristic laptops. There were some pretty quirky screen innovations as well. Did you see the NanoLeaf LED light therapy face mask?
Of course. I think that was one of the most talked about gadgets at CES. It uses different wavelengths of light for potential skincare benefits. It might make you look a little like Dr. Doom while you're wearing it, but hey, beauty is pain, right?
Right. And speaking of interesting combinations of technology and well-being, let's talk about smart homes. This year, CES showed us that our homes are getting smarter in some pretty amazing manga and sometimes creepy ways.
Absolutely. We saw everything from robot vacuums that can pick up socks to smart mirrors that analyze your health and offer motivational pep talks. It seems like the line between helpful and intrusive is getting blurrier all the time.
Okay, let's start with the robots. Tell me about this sock-picking robot vacuum. Is it as amazing as it sounds?
It's pretty impressive. Roborock, the company behind it, calls it the Sara Z70. It's not just a vacuum cleaner. It actually has an arm that can pick up small objects and move them out of the way.
So no more pre-cleaning before you run your robot vacuum. That's a game changer.
Right. It seems like chore automation is really becoming a major focus in smart home technology.
Okay. But what about that creepy smart mirror you mentioned? The one that judges your health and offers motivational pep talks. Tell me more about that.
That's the Withings Omnia smart mirror. And it's definitely a conversation starter. It's loaded with sensors that track everything from your weight and body composition to your heart rate and sleep quality.
So it's like having a personal health coach built into your bathroom mirror.
Pretty much. It even has an AI voice assistant that can offer personalized advice and encouragement based on your health data.
I'm not sure how I feel about getting judged by my mirror first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, maybe it's the motivation I need to finally get in shape.
Perhaps. But it does raise some interesting questions about how comfortable we are with technology becoming so deeply integrated into our personal lives.
Right. It's one thing to have a smart speaker in your living room, but having a device that analyzes your health and offers advice while you're brushing your teeth is a whole other level.
It is. But it's not all about robots and mirrors. We also saw some really cool innovations in the realm of indoor gardening.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm a terrible gardener, so anything that can help me grow fresh herbs and vegetables at home is a win in my book. Did you see anything particularly impressive at CES?
I did. Plantiform, a company specializing in indoor gardening technology, unveiled their new smart garden that uses something called fogponics to grow plants faster and more efficiently.
Fogponics, what is that? Some kind of futuristic mist-based gardening system.
It kind of is. It's similar to hydroponics. But instead of submerging the roots in water, it uses an ultra-fine mist to deliver water and nutrients directly to the plants.
So it's like a super efficient, high-tech greenhouse in your kitchen. That sounds amazing.
It does, doesn't it? And it's a great example of how technology can be used to make our lives more sustainable and connect us with nature, even in urban environments.
Okay, so we've covered AI, screens, smart homes, and even a bit of indoor gardening. It sounds like CES 2025 was a pretty amazing showcase of innovation. But we've only just scratched the surface, right?
You're absolutely right. There's so much more to explore, from groundbreaking advancements in health tech to mind-bending virtual reality experiences. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll take a closer look at some of these innovations and discuss what they might mean for the future.
Sounds good. We'll be back soon with part 2 of our CES 2025 deep dive. See you then.
Welcome back to Byte-Sized Tech, where we're unpacking all the coolest innovations from CES 2025.
It's been a whirlwind of AI, rollable screens, and robot butlers. But there's a whole other dimension to CES that we haven't even touched on yet, the world of health tech. And let me tell you, some of the advancements we saw this year were truly mind-blowing.
Hey, I'm all ears. In the last segment, you briefly mentioned some new glucose monitors. Can you give us the rundown on those?
Absolutely. We saw a couple of standout players in this space. Dexcom, a well-known name in diabetes management, announced a continuous glucose monitor specifically designed for type 2 diabetics. This monitor, worn on the arm, provides 30 days of continuous monitoring, all managed through a smartphone app. That's a huge step forward for people managing type 2 diabetes. No more finger pricking every few hours.
Precisely. It's all about convenience and empowering people to take control of their health. And then there's Abbott, who took a different approach with their Lingo device. This device tracks your glucose response to food and exercise, but it's aimed more at general wellness rather than disease management.
So it's less about managing a specific condition and more about understanding how your body reacts to different foods and activities.
Exactly. It's like having a personal nutritionist on your wrist, giving you real-time feedback on what's happening inside your body.
That's pretty amazing. Imagine being able to see how your blood sugar spikes after that sugary latte, or how different workouts impact your glucose levels. It's all about personalized insights.
And speaking of personalized insights, let's talk about Circular, a company that's making waves in the world of wearable health tech. They showcased their second-generation smart ring at CES, and it's packed with features.
A smart ring, what exactly does it track? My mood swings.
Not quite. This ring is all about heart health. It offers ECG and AFib detection, giving you a mini cardiologist on your finger.
That's incredibly impressive for such a small device. But how do you even size a smart ring?
That's the beauty of Circular's innovation. They've developed a digital sizing technology that eliminates the need for physical sizing kits. You simply use your smartphone camera to determine the correct fit.
Okay, that's clever. No more fumbling around with those tiny plastic rings. But beyond the cool factor, what's the real significance of this type of technology?
It's about making advanced health monitoring more accessible and less intimidating. Imagine being able to detect potential heart issues early on, all from a device you wear every day. It could be a game changer.
It's like having a constant health checkup happening in the background. Speaking of things happening in the background, let's circle back to those smart home innovations we talked about earlier. You mentioned this robot vacuum that can pick up socks.
Yeah.
Is it truly as magical as it sounds?
It's pretty close. Rock's Saro Z70 is more than just a vacuum cleaner. It's equipped with an arm that can pick up small objects like socks, toys, or even charging cables.
No more pre-cleaning before running the robot vacuum. That's a dream come true. I can already see myself getting one and naming it Alfred.
I wouldn't blame you. It's a fantastic example of how robotics and AI are being integrated into our homes to make our lives easier. But of course, not all smart home innovations are about convenience. Some, like that Withings Omnia smart mirror we discussed, raise some interesting questions about privacy and the role of technology in our personal spaces.
Right. The mirror that analyzes your health and offers motivational pep talks. I'm still on the fence about that one.
It's understandable to be hesitant. It's a very personal device, and it collects a lot of sensitive data. But for some people, that level of personalized feedback could be incredibly valuable.
It's all about finding the right balance between innovation and personal comfort. But let's move on from the potentially judgmental mirrors and talk about something a little more, well, green. You mentioned this indoor garden that uses fog conics. Can you explain how that works?
Absolutely. Fogponics is a fascinating technology that uses an ultra-fine mist to deliver water and nutrients directly to the roots of plants. It's incredibly efficient, uses less water than traditional gardening methods, and results in faster plant growth.
So it's like a high-tech misting system for your herbs and vegetables.
Pretty much. Plantiform, the company behind this smart garden, is betting that this technology will revolutionize the way we grow food at home.
Imagine having fresh, organic produce growing year-round.
Yeah.
Right in your kitchen. It's a pretty appealing idea,
Yeah.
especially for those of us who don't have a green thumb. But speaking of appealing ideas, didn't you say there was a face mask that makes you look like Dr. Doom? Tell me more about that.
Of course. That's Nanoleaf's LED light therapy face mask, and it's definitely one of the more visually striking gadgets we saw at CES.
So beyond the Dr. Doom aesthetic, what does it actually do?
It uses different wavelengths of light to target various skin concerns, from wrinkles to acne. There's a growing body of research suggesting that LED light therapy can be effective for these issues.
Interesting. So it's not just a gimmick. There's actual science behind it. But let's be honest. Part of the appeal is definitely the futuristic look.
Oh, absolutely. CES is always a showcase for the weird and wonderful, and this face mask definitely fits that bill.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. From life-changing health tech to quirky gadgets that make you smile. But I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what CES 2025 had to offer.
You're right. We haven't even touched on some of the bigger trends, like the rise of the metaverse and the increasing blurring of lines between the physical and digital worlds.
It sounds like we have a lot more to discuss. We'll be back soon with the final part of our CES 2025 deep dive, where we'll explore these bigger trends and consider what they might mean for the future. Welcome back to Byte-Sized Tech,
where we try to make sense of the tech future that's hurtling towards us.
Over the last two parts, we've explored some of the highlights from CES 2025. AI that acts on its own, screens that roll up, health trackers you wear on your finger, even a face mask that's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's been a whirlwind of innovation. But now I think it's time to step back and ask ourselves, what does it all mean?
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new gadgets and shiny tech. But we also need to consider the broader implications. How will these trends shape our lives in the years to come?
One of the biggest takeaways for me is that the pace of technological change is accelerating rapidly. It's not just about incremental improvements anymore. We're talking about fundamental shifts in how we work, live, and interact with the world around us.
You mentioned earlier that agentic AI could be handling 15% of our work decisions in just a few years. That's a huge shift. How do you think that will impact the workforce?
It's hard to say for certain, but it's definitely something we need to be thinking about. Some experts believe that AI will create new jobs and opportunities, while others worry about widespread job displacement. The reality is probably somewhere in between.
It's like every time there's a major technological leap forward, there's this period of uncertainty. We're not quite sure what the future holds, but we know it's going to be different.
Exactly. And it's not just about jobs. AI raises all sorts of ethical questions. For example, as AI systems become more autonomous, How do we ensure that they're making decisions that are aligned with human values?
Right. It's one thing to have an AI that can book your flights and manage your calendar, but what happens when AI starts making decisions about healthcare, finance,
Hmm.
or even criminal justice?
Those are questions we need to be grappling with now, before this technology becomes even more deeply embedded in our lives.
And it's not just AI that's raising these ethical questions. We talked about that Withing smart mirror that analyzes your health and offers advice. It's a cool idea, but it also brings up concerns about data privacy and the potential for technology to become too intrusive.
Absolutely. As technology becomes more personalized and integrated into our lives, it's collecting more data about us than ever before. We need to be very careful about how that data is being used and who has access to it.
All right, it's great to have technology that can anticipate our needs and make our lives easier, but we also need to make sure that we're not giving up too much control in the process.
It's all about finding the right balance. We need to embrace the potential of technology to improve our lives, but we also need to be mindful of the risks and be proactive about mitigating them.
So after spending a few days immersed in the world of CES 2025, I'm walking away with a sense of both excitement and cautious optimism. There's so much amazing innovation happening, but it's clear that we're entering a new era of technology that will require us to think carefully about the implications and make some tough choices.
I agree. CES 2025 wasn't just a showcase of cool gadgets. It was a glimpse into a future that's both exhilarating and daunting. The future is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to be engaged and informed participants in that process.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into CES 2025. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And perhaps even a little bit entertaining.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.